Now, the bright colors are going to blend in as camouflage with all of the bright flowers and plants in the jungle. So we're going to add some cool bright plants. And here's some cool flowers. It looks like a little cup. I draw the top, one side. I'm going to come down to the other side. And then there's a little poof at the end. And then it comes down to the branch. Now, anytime that we overlap something, you have to erase your overlap. So I'm going to erase where my flower overlaps the branch in both places there. And to add some more flowers here. I'm going to make another poof here, the bottom of the flower, and then it comes up and around. Once again, I have to erase my overlap. And I'm going to add a third one here. Now, I'm actually using for a resource. I always want to say where my resource came from. I'm using a coloring sheet from Super Coloring that I got on the internet. They have lots of other coloring sheets. And the reason I use a resource of a coloring sheet is that it's a great way for kids to learn how to draw. One of the first steps in learning how to draw is learning how to get your proportion correct. And that's how big things are to each other. And simple black line drawings like I'm drawing are an excellent way to learn how to draw. And if you type in anything you're looking for and you type in coloring sheet after it, for example, if you typed in pony coloring sheet, you're going to get lots of black line pictures that you can draw from. Now, I will ask you to draw by looking at it, not tracing it. You really don't learn anything by drawing when you trace, but it's a great way to draw by looking at the solid black lines. And as you develop as an artist, you will add more things like texture and shading and all of the other cool things to make it look realistic. But a good way to start for an artist is using simple black lines. So coloring sheets are a great way to begin learning how to draw. So that was where my resource started, and that's why we're using the solid black line drawings. Now, I've got my first plant here, and I'm going to add some cool flowers. An easy way to make the flower is I'm going to start with the middle, kind of a circle. Notice I don't make it a complete circle. You can actually have some little stamen coming out if you want to. And then I'm going to add the petals. I'm going to curve once. I'm going to add a little notch in it for the second curve. And then I curve back. And the key to the flower is that the petals are going to come out from the middle like the spokes on a wheel. So now my next petal is going to curve up, almost like a little heart on the end. Looks like little heart petals. Going to add another petal around. And notice I don't do them the same. The notch is kind of different sizes. If you do them all exactly the same, it doesn't look very realistic because real petals, they have a little variation in them. Even if, notice there's the same basic pattern, there's some petals turned one direction and the other, different sizes, and that makes it look a little more realistic. Now, notice I have some overlaps to erase. I'm going to erase my flower. I'm going to erase inside here. And let's add some more flowers. I'm going to add a circle, add a little stamen. And this one is going to overlap behind. So you can see I have one heart. Add another heart. I'm overlapping behind my other piece. The more you can overlap, I'm going to bring this one in front. the better your drawing will be. Overlapping and going off the edge are always good design. Now I'm going to come up here with some leaves. A leaf is kind of a pointy, and I usually put kind of a line in the middle. It gives a little more leaf texture there. And let's put a few behind our bird. Let's put some cool leaves sticking out because he's hiding back in the flowers. Some cool, interesting facts about the toucans. The toucans can be up to 2 feet long, which is a big bird. And when their babies hatch out of the eggs, they say they look a lot like regular birds with their beaks. They're not long like this toucan, but then they grow really, really fast. So I guess it's hard to tell when it's first born toucan, and they say they have no feathers when they're born, and their bills are short. But quickly as they grow, those bills grow really fast into the giant ones you see right there. Now, let me see another flower. I'm going to draw the center first, getting ahead of myself. And the petals. There we go. Here's one heart. Remember, keep them like the spokes of a wheel coming out from the middle. Here's another petal going toward the middle. 1, 2. Little variation there. And then this one, I'm going to put a little more of a notch. And notice I kind of overlap some of the ends of the petals. Going to add another one coming in behind. You can just see a little bit of the leaves. There we go. We got some cool flowers. And let's end with a nice sprig. You can see, notice it makes a Y here. Anytime a plant branches or a branch, it makes a little Y shape. I'm going to add the bottom. We're going to do 2 at once here. And then the big end right here. There we go. Now we got some nice tropical flowers. We're going to add a little bit of texture on our branch. And notice I'm adding some lines for the bark. And I'm also adding more lines along the bottom of the branch. And what I'm doing, I'm indicating a little shading, like there's shadow, and then it's brighter on the top. So I'm having some of these wiggly lines here. It's going to look like the bark texture. More on the bottom, less on the top, and that will make it a 3D shading, a little shadow. The bark lines look like shading. After this, we got to have a little bit of jungleness. I don't know if that's a word, but we're going to add some jungle features. And one easy way to make a jungle feature is to come down with a cool vine. 1 line, 2 lines. And a lot of times your jungles have some moss hanging off. So I'm going to add a little moss, maybe even going behind my bird. There's a little overlapping. And you're welcome to put other things on your vines. You can put snakes and birds and worms and butterflies and all kinds. A monkey would be very appropriate for our rainforest. I'm going to put some texture on my moss. Maybe just a little bit in the edge there. And a lot of times I'll add curves along the vine. Gives a little more 3D. And well, we don't have a lot of time, so we'll have to do something fairly simple. You can add more flowers. You can add some more of these petals coming out in places. And finally, I might have time to throw a quick snake in here. I was wanting to put a snake, but let's see. I'm going to draw the vine first. We'll have to make him small, but that's all right. I'm going to draw the head of the snake. More of a triangle shape is actually going to make him look a little more poisonous. If you want him not to be poisonous, you're going to make him more of a round head. That all depends. Now, to draw the snake is I'm going to make him in an S shape. So you can see I'm going to wrap around the vine. It comes back in here. Curves in. You got to make sure you got lots of shape. And then he curves out. We'll just put a little tail coming down here. It gets smaller and wider. Now, where I overlap the branch, I have to erase the overlaps, because you can see part of him is in front of the branch and part of him is behind the branch. So you can see it's a little more challenging, but you can see it's actually an S shape with the branch going in between. So if you have a little trouble with that, that's all right. You can even have him laying on the branch if you're having trouble getting him to wrap around. That's for a little more of my advanced artists, but I bet most of you can do it. His eyes are kind of on the side, and notice he's got these slits in the middle. Got a couple of nostrils, and of course, what's a snake without a little tongue here? All right, and we've got you can add all kinds of details that you like. You can add spots on the snake and all kinds of cool things. But we are out of time. So here we have our toucan in our rainforest jungle.